All right, so I want to thank everybody for coming out today. There's obviously a lot of interest in this process that we're going through right now. I want to preface this with a couple of remarks. The first thing I want to say is that safety is our number one priority, and so that is what is going to be the mantra as we move forward. All of our decisions will be based on the fact that the safety of the traveling public has to be our number one priority. The second thing I want to state is that we are very early in this process. So I know that there is a large desire for information from the public and from various stakeholders, but a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, we're very preliminary findings, and we'll be able to firm this up as we move forward. We're going to be giving daily briefings on this as we move ahead, and so I just want people to understand that if you're asking questions and we have to say we're going to get back to you, that means we just don't know at this point. So my first instinct when I learned about this was that we needed to get the right team of experts together to address what is a pretty significant issue. And so I may not go through directly in terms of how they're on my sheet, but we wanted to get the right people in the room. So starting on my left, we have Barry Benton, who's in charge of our bridge division. And I can get you the spell. I'm not going to spell every single one right now, if that's okay. Barry Benton. We have you moved me on here. Paul Moffett, thank you. Paul Moffett with AECOM, and Mr. Roker with AECOM as well. Paul Moffett is a geotechnical engineer with AECOM. Harry Roker is a vice president and deputy chief engineer. Hiding behind me is our chief engineer, Rob McCleary. And then we, from the University of Delaware, we have Chris Meehan and Trip Shenton. With Pannoni and Associates, we have Jennifer Laning. Yeah. And from the Federal Highway Administration, we have Mary Ridgway, who's our local Delaware field division office administrator. And so this is the team of experts that we've assembled. We're also reaching out to other stakeholders as we find it's going to be appropriate, but we wanted to get the right team together so that we could start to begin to pull together the questions that are needed so we can find the answers. So with that, I'm basically going to frame this briefing in 3 steps. Barry's going to take us through the condition of the bridge prior to any movement with regard to where it was after its last inspection. He's going to take you through the condition of the bridge as of yesterday when the movement was noticed. We're going to have the geotechnical expert from AECOM begin to frame out what could be causing some of the moving issues. And then we're going to have AECOM also address what the next steps forward are with regard to the current condition of the bridge. And as we begin to frame out the question I'm sure everybody wants to know, when can this bridge be reopened? And then we're going to talk about our plans moving forward, both from a traffic management, safety and security of this site. And then at the end of this, we will open it up for any questions that you may have, and we'll have lots of questions, lots of time for questions. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Barry Benton.
Okay, hello, my name is Barry Benton, B-A-R-R-Y, B-E-N-T-O-N. I'm the Assistant Director of the Bridge Section for DelDOT. I want to go over some of the facts about the bridge first. This is bridge number 1-813. It's on I-495 over the Christina River. The bridge is 4,800 feet long and consists of 38 spans. It was built in 1974, so it's 40 years old. With regard to the way the bridge was built, it's actually built as 2 separate structures, the northbound and the southbound. And what we have here is a diagram of, Jim, could you move that back a little bit? Yeah, that's good, so I can point. So what we have here is a diagram of the pier. Now each one of these spans, what I'm going to refer to as a pier, and I think you guys have heard that there have been 4 piers affected, there's actually 2 of these. Okay, there's one for the northbound and one for the southbound. So there's 4 pairs of piers that are affected. So actually a number of 8 piers, okay? And just so we're all on the same page with regard to terminology, I would call the whole thing the pier. Underneath of the pier, there's a footing, there's a concrete footing. It's about probably 2 feet below ground level, and it's about 6 feet thick. And below that are steel H-piles, which vary anywhere from 140 to 160 feet long and they either go to bedrock or to a very hard stratum just above the bedrock. Okay, so they're founded on these very long piles. On top, what I'm going to refer to as the deck and the superstructure, we have the beams up here. There's steel beams that sit on top of the pier. There's a concrete deck on top of that. And then I'll also refer to later on the barrier or the parapet, which is what we keep on the bridge to keep the cars safely on the bridge. The past inspections of this bridge, the last one was done in 2012. It didn't show any tilting or rotating or any of these deficiencies. As of Monday, when we came out and inspected the bridge, we noted that 4 piers, their piers 11, 12, 13, and 14, were all rotated. So once again, we're talking 4 pairs of piers, 8 total piers. The worst pier was pier 12 on the east side, and it was tilted at approximately 4%, which would put the top of the pier around 2 feet out of line from the bottom of the pier. The piers are each around 50 feet tall, okay? The decks also, the superstructure or the steel beams with the deck rode the piers as the piers have rotated, okay? So the deck is also rotated. If you, from up top, you can see that rotation in the parapets. The parapets, the parapets on the median side, there should be, when it was constructed, there was a 3-inch gap and they were even. So if you look at the north and the southbound sides at the median, the parapet should be like this, okay? What you will see is that due to the rotation, the whole thing is rotated east. That means for the southbound lanes, the east side has dipped down and the west side of the northbound has risen up. So that's what's causing the difference in the elevation of the parapets. And we've actually measured that at up to 18 inches difference between the parapets, which should be even. Actions that we've taken so far, we closed down the bridge, took traffic off the bridge. We installed tilt meters immediately. Tilt meters are an instrument that are installed on 4 of the worst piers. And what that does, it gives us a baseline for how far the piers are currently rotated. And it also gives us real-time information on if they're continuing to rotate. Those were installed last night at 10 o'clock and began recording instantly. We also ordered an inspection of the bridge with all the concerned areas where we've seen the rotation of the piers. Lastly, we began investigating possible causes. I want to be clear, it's very early. There could be any number of things that could be causing this, but in our initial investigation, we have AECOM, Mr. Paul Moffitt, with some preliminary findings. So, Paul.
Paul, do you need this?
Sure, let's keep it there. My name's Paul Moffitt. I'm a senior geotechnical engineer with AECOM. It's Paulmoffitt. And as Barry had suggested here, being that this is preliminary, we're looking at some potential causes for what would have caused the rotation in these specific piers. Certainly from a geotechnical perspective, from a subsurface perspective, we're in a floodplain here. There's a lot of marine sediment, which is why this structure is founded on deep foundations, trying to get through that softer zone. That soft soil is very consolidation or compressive settlement prone, and based on the organics content, it actually can compress under its own weight as well. Any kind of movement or compression in that material would induce stresses onto those piles. The piles would be designed to resist that. However, if we would have large magnitudes of movement, you could end up bending the pile, moving the pile group. That's one of the potential causes. Another thing that could add to impacts to the pile group is since they're steel elements, we're in an industrialized area here, and the history of this site and the history of those marine sediments adds to a corrosive environment as well. So there could be a corrosion potential involved.
And again, we'll make everybody available for questions afterwards. But I just want to stress again, those are some of the things we're looking at from an initial diagnosis. It could be any number of things, and we're going to systematically be going through to make sure that we can understand exactly what is going on and what has caused this condition of the bridge. And so to now talk about the bridge, its current status, And next steps as we go forward, I'm going to introduce Mr. Roker with AECOM as well.
Harry Roker, excuse me, R-O-E-C-K-E-R. At this point, we have established the tilt, and our analysis thus far is focused on the worst pier, with continuing information being gathered in the field to determine the extent of the other piers. But we've established the worst pier, that being Pier 12, and our analysis is focused on what the lean does to the pier. So if you can imagine, when you lean, it increases the load on the shaft, on the foundation, on the piles. Our findings are that in its current state, in its current position, no further rotation, but in its current position, the pier can support its own weight. However, in that position, it is not capable of supporting safely full traffic load. So that's a major finding. What that's telling us is we're dealing in something to get temporary support. What we're starting is to now look at options for temporary support. With that, Rob?
So, no, that's okay. So, again, just to sort of summarize that, that means that the bridge is going to remain closed because while, one, we have to investigate what is going on underneath. Assuming that everything stays the same underneath, the bridge itself should remain upright, but we cannot expose it to traffic loads, so the bridge will remain closed. And now I'm going to turn over to Rob McClary to talk about some of our next steps, what we're doing to secure the site and to secure the bridge.
Thank you, Secretary Batt. My name's Rob McClary, last name spelled M-C-C-L-E-A-R-Y. We've had quite a few of our consultant and in-house resources devoted to this since we found out about it. We're gathering all the data we can about the soil conditions, about the condition of the structure. We're gathering information about our neighbors, their owners, any utility information, any subsurface data that we can find out there, and that'll all factor into a proposed solution. At this point, we're looking at a need to temporarily brace this facility. We're going to have to come up with a shoring system that'll have to be designed. It's not going to be something that we do in days. It's going to be something that takes weeks. It'll have to be designed around the types of material that we can find locally and employ quickly. So we're considering a variety of different options available to us, drilled shafts, various types of shoring that would allow us to brace it, shore it, and level that deck. And once we feel that the structure is stable and able to hold a live load, then and only then can we consider opening it for traffic. Speaking of traffic, we have done a number of things to try to ease the burden to drivers. Obviously, we're trying to get the message out to everybody. We've been interacting with our regional partners in Maryland, at PennDOT, the I-95 Corridor Coalition, the New Jersey DOT, and DRBA. We've put variable message signs out on the road at key locations. We have blanketed social media and the DelDOT app and our website with all of real-time data that we can bring to bear and make available to the public so that they can make wise traveling choices. So we've been encouraging people to use the local detours. They can take I-95 or I-295 over the Memorial Bridge through New Jersey. We've done some things on the local street grid where we've adjusted signal timings, and we're continuing to work with the City of Wilmington to optimize those signals, and that will enable traffic to move as efficiently as possible given the current traffic situation. We're utilizing Delaware State Police to direct traffic, and we're currently working on a temporary signal that we would install at Terminal Avenue. That's currently a stop sign, and we saw this morning considerable backup at that location. A Delaware State police officer was there to try to help alleviate that, and we think we'll be able to install a temporary traffic signal there shortly to improve that situation. We have our motorist assistant patrol trucks and emergency response trucks out traveling the detour routes, monitoring it in real time, and we can make adjustments on the fly based on that. We're also using the Civil Air Patrol, and they're flying morning, noon, and night to monitor the backups on the highway, and then we can tweak our approach based on that type of information that we get back. In addition, we're putting more live cameras out there. We have portable traffic cameras that we've erected in key locations so that we can monitor that traffic 24/7. So that is the state of what we're doing, and Secretary Batt, it's back to you.
So just to conclude our portion of this, I want to say that I have been since this began, I've been in constant contact with the governor. Our federal delegation has been just awesome in terms of finding ways to how can we be supportive